is the role of the gatekeepers of the temple? This is the question we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of 1 Chronicles on walking through the Bible.
His word, the glory of his cross.
Today we're going to be discussing 1 Chronicles chapter 26, verses 1 to 19. But before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with you, turn to 1 Chronicles chapter 26, verse 1. But if you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So 1 Chronicles chapter 26, beginning at verse 1. Concerning the divisions of the gatekeepers of the Korathites, Meshelmiah, the son of Kor, of the sons of Asaph, and the sons of Meshelmiah were Zechariah the firstborn, Jediael the second, Zebediah the third, Jathniel the fourth, Elam the fifth, Jehonan the sixth, Elihonai the seventh. Moreover, the sons of Obed-Edom were Shemaiah the firstborn, Jozabad the second, Joah the third, Sakar the fourth, Nethanel the fifth, Amiel the sixth, Issachar the seventh, Pultai the eighth, for God blessed him. Also to Shemaiah his son were sons born who governed their father's houses, because they were men of great ability. The sons of Shemaiah were Othni, Raphael, Obed, and Elzabad, whose brothers Elihu and Shemachiah were able men. All these were the sons of Obed-Edom, they and their sons and their brethren, able men with strength for the work, 62 of Obed-Edom. And Meshelmiah had sons and brethren, 18 able men. And Hosa, the children of Merari, had sons, Shimri the first, for though he was not the firstborn, his father made him the first, Hilkiah the second, Tabaliah the third, Zechariah the fourth. All the sons and brethren of Hosa were 13. Among these were the divisions of the gatekeepers, among the chief men having duties just like their brethren to serve in the house of the Lord. And they cast lots for each gate, the small as well as the great, according to their father's house. The lot for the east gate fell to Shelemiah. Then they cast lots for his son Zechariah, a wise counselor, and his lot came out to the north gate. To Obed-Edom, the south gate, and to his sons, the storehouse. To Shupam and Hosa, the lot came out for the west gate, with the Shalekaseth gate on the ascending highway, watchman opposite watchman. On the east were 6 Levites, on the north 4 each day, on the south 4 each day, and for the storehouse 2 by 2. As for the parbar on the west, there were 4 on the highway and 2 at the parbar. These were the divisions of the gatekeepers among the sons of Korah and among the sons of Merari. We have been looking over the past few chapters at the organization of the temple worship and the temple itself. The priests had been organized into groups of 24 so that each of them would serve a week in the service of the tabernacle at least twice a year, while the rest of the year was spent tending to their duties in their hometown, including raising their family. This duty would start and end on the Sabbath day, as we will see in other chapters. The musicians of the temple were organized in a similar fashion, with each of the families chosen serving 1 week intervals at least twice a year as well. We now come to the gatekeepers of the temple, and we find that there is a slight difference, and the reason will become evident in a few moments. When you add up all the gatekeepers mentioned in this chapter, you get a total of 93, whom we should regard as heads over all the gatekeepers, which was a larger number. From chapter 9, we saw that David appointed 212 gatekeepers, but from chapter 23, we saw that the total was 4,000. How can these two numbers be reconciled? By noting that these two numbers come from different time periods. Back in chapter 9, the gatekeepers were referred to as gatekeepers of the tabernacle, which at that time was located in Gibeon, while the gatekeepers spoken of here are that of the temple. The temple had more entrances than the tabernacle did, and therefore required more gatekeepers. The gatekeepers came from 3 families: the house of Korah through Meshelmiah, which is Shallum in chapter 9, the house of Obed-Edom, and the house of Hosa of Merari. Of the 3 houses, the house of Obed-Edom was the largest, numbering 63 heads of the gatekeepers. Next came Meshelmiah's house with 18 heads of the gatekeepers, and then Hosa's house with 13 heads. Now we had met the house of Obed-Edom before as it concerned David's attempts to transport the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem back in chapters 13 and 15. And when we met him there, his household was made gatekeepers of the Ark, so that they became gatekeepers of the temple should not surprise us. Meshulmiah, as we said earlier, was known as Shallum in chapter 9, when the gatekeepers of the tabernacle were mentioned. And here it is said that he is the son of Asaph. However, Korah didn't have a son named Asaph, but he did have a son named Abiasaph. And so this is the son that is meant here. Another of Abiasaph's descendants had a prominent role in the temple too, namely Heman, who was the grandson of Samuel the prophet. As for Hosa, we do not know much about him other than he was from the family of Merari. Merari had two sons, Malai and Mushai, and so the family of Hosa must have descended from one of these two sons. Other than that, all we know about them is that they were gatekeepers. And what was the role of the gatekeepers? To guard the temple and to open and close the gates. This would be a grueling task and potentially dangerous one, unlike some of the other jobs in the temple. Perhaps that is why we don't get given to us the usual 24-week rotation, with the text making it seem that the space between rotations may have been longer. Rather, what we get is that there were 24 guards stationed at a time, for a day at a time, with the location of each station, whether it was the north, south, east, or west gate, being selected by lot for each family. It is interesting to note that the temple had yet to be built yet, but because David had already made the plans for the temple that Solomon would execute, David could know where the gates were going to be, and thus how many guards would be needed at each gate. With the families of the guards for the temple now given to us, we have just one more section on the organization of the temple before moving on to David's organization of the military and nation as a whole, so we invite you back for the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of 1 Chronicles chapter 26, verses 20 to 32, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.